What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. And why have I gathered you all here today? Well, another demo, of course. This time it's going to be about Twistzz. But more importantly than that, special thank you to all my lovely subscribers. We did it, chat. 100,000. Ignore the hole in my wall. That's the TV used to be there. 100,000 subscribers we've just passed on YouTube. The sky's the limit. And momentum is in our favor. Things have been going great. 8 years in the making. If you missed my 100K video, at the end of the video, it's a long one. If you want to know more about the history of this channel and everything, at the end of the video is a 20-minute kind of celebration live stream leading up to the moment that I got hit 100K. It was pretty hype. If you want to go back and watch that, it's on the channel. It's called 100K. Thank you for all the subscriptions. I could not be in a better mood to have gotten the 100K plaque. Literally a dream. Pretty much my only goal coming into esports at first. And now, you know, my eyes have gotten a bit wider since then. I've started to increase, you know, my appetite for ambition has increased, right? But there's still something special about that. Your first goal, right? Your first goal. Thank you. Thank you. You can notice a Bad News Bears and the John G, the captain of the John G fan club here. Bad News Bears, John G fan club. I'm the captain. I'm the captain now. Save NACS sticker. My Bad News Bears and merch came in. Extra salt. We're supporting NACS on this channel, whether you like it or not. Sorry to all my soccer fans out there. The game we're going to watch today is Gambit versus FaZe. It's the match that happened at IEM Cologne. The person of interest is Twistzz. But man, for those of you who might be new to the channel, also, we got tabs today. It's one of those days. There's stuff to talk about. First things first, there's some CSGO news, okay? There's news about Complexity here. They have just welcomed Esatag. And you might be thinking, well, how can they welcome an Esatag? They've already got Rush, Poison, JKS, Blame F, and they dropped Kita. Config, of course. How do they have room for this? Well, what happened was they got rid of Rush. Rush got RPK'd. Yeah, I said it. I'm sad to see this. It's no secret Rush's performance hasn't been fantastic. He was looked at as like the Sanji of the team. He was always playing these sites off Config. Config was the one who was fed stats. Rush was in the back, you know, playing small sites, playing B side on Mirage famously. A lot of positions like this. In my opinion, I mean, it's not like he was doing his job badly enough that you could point to him first. In my opinion. Poison was very inconsistent. Config was pretty much the golden boy of the team, achieving a superstar level in a player who was actually never looked like he was ever going to be very consistent, even though he had super high highs. He was doing good, but Poison wasn't doing great. JKS wasn't doing great. Blame F was top 6 this year, still doing okay. But the team overall was not that impressive. Didn't seem like they were very scary. It was one of those situations. It started to turn into one of those situations like we had with Fnatic, where everybody said that they've got this system that Golden has made that's really good, and like he knows all this stuff, but when you watch them play, it just doesn't translate that well. And for Complexity, hot start with Blast at the beginning of 2020 at Blast London, and they always did well at Blast throughout the year, but outside of that, it was bad. And Poison got his injury at the end of the year. They had to make a number of roster moves. Obo left the team because of COVID. And the other thing that people don't know is this particular journey for players like Rush and JKS has been really tough. Not only have Rush has not gone home in the entire time, right? Obo left because it was getting to the point where he wasn't sure if he'd be able to get home. Rush never went home. He stuck through. JKS hasn't been home in over 2 years, I think, to Australia, if I have that correct. And even though some of this stuff we don't get to see on the outside, they don't complain about it publicly. I'm sure everybody has an excuse of some sort. But, you know, this came up at the Blast overtime with Config talking about Rush, said, you know, it's probably in a pretty dark place. And it doesn't really matter to a team if somebody's in a dark place or having a bad week or, mentally not in a position where the team can help them with that. Ultimately, they need results. I mean, that's the team. You're getting paid tens of thousands of dollars a month on top of winning hundreds of thousands a year. And a lot of stuff is riding on you as one of 5 core members of the team. And if the stats aren't there, the results aren't there, people will get scapegoated. Changes will happen. And Rush is a result of that. What is the world what would the world look like if Rush was if COVID didn't happen and he was able to travel back home and they were to have some kind of healthy relationship to the esport, working really hard but still getting time off, not in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, they didn't even have a place where they were living. They didn't have a place in Europe where they were living. I saw Rush and JKS looking happy at the Copenhagen boot camp before the Blast Spring Finals because it was finally everything was starting to return to normal, They were looking happy. But before that time, they were moving from hotel room to hotel room. And I'll stop going on about this, but it is something to remember that this year has been hard for, of course, a lot of people, but everyone's got a story. And I feel like Rush and the RPK have a lot of similarities in that they're not actually, if the core of the team was playing well and then Rush wasn't, then I would be saying, all right, let's look at Rush. But if your star players, if Poison, your elite opper, is not a top 20 player where he should be this year, and JKS isn't performing well enough, and Config is the only thing that's really, really been constant for you, maybe blame F, though his stats are obviously a little bit more inflated than others, then those are the points of interest for me. That's how I feel. You got to find somebody else like Rush, right? But they got Esatag, which is an interesting one. Because he wasn't a star player of Astralis, but he still managed to be like their hyper carry. They won Pro League, winning, I think, 12 of 14 matches in a row or maps in a row with Esatag. Then he left the team. Zonic didn't want to let him go. Apparently, the org wanted to let him go. And Glaive tweeted about this, actually. Mentioned that Esatag's a great player. Congrats, an awesome person to join on the team for complexity or whatever. He's a big fan of Esatag. No secret, Esatag's a great player. And I think there's something that makes sense here for sure, but I'm just saying, I feel for Rush. All right. Esatag coming on, I think it's just a strong player. Let's see what happens. It's not, obviously, the roles aren't exactly perfect. How he's going to fit into the team, how much the team will change now that he's on it. These things, are Blame F and Esatag going to speak Danish when 3 other teammates are dead? These are questions we don't have the answers to. But we'll have to watch and see. I didn't know Esatag was going to join Complexity. And, of course, this is all following IEM Cologne because now it is the player break, right? And this is where roster madness is happening. Look at the Rob's tweet. You follow these videos, I'm going to be doing news and talking about these roster changes as they come out at the beginning of the videos. The intros are starting to get longer. Some of you are here for the intros. Some of you want the timestamps. The timestamps are below. I don't want to hear a bad word about the intros in the comments, okay? You want to skip ahead and shut your... I'm just kidding. All right. Something else. Scope.gg has decided to sponsor this video. And this is going to burn some ears. Launders? Wait, I just realized I've never seen a sponsor on Launders' channel. And for some of you who've been around for a long time, we've worked with a couple of good companies here and there. But I like to keep the sponsorship sparse. I report spam tens of gambling sponsor emails every single day, sketchy websites I've never heard about, people who are asking for soulless ad plugs. I don't do that, all right? I'm in a good place. I make good money. I have a product I like. I like to keep my videos clean. I don't want to attach myself to any bad brands. And you have my word. You're not going to see any gambling sponsors on my video. Not skin gambling sponsors. If we're talking, regulated, above board potential betting sponsors, that's totally fine with me. Unregulated, don't know where this money is coming from, random, borderline illegal. No, not on my channel. You have my word. Scope.gg has nothing to do with that. Here is a website that can help you improve the more you use it. And it's what I found a great way to start your day. So they've come on for a sponsor of this video. If you want to support me, support scope.gg. Let me go ahead and show you what this website looks like and what it can do. This is a website that has a powerful stats engine, and they can go through either your matchmaking or your FaZe games really easily as soon as you log into Steam. So you're familiar with this process, and you can look through some of your stats. I've had a bad run of it in my last 15 games here on FaceIt. So I'm going to need to get really back to the drawing board and make sure that I can figure out what I'm doing wrong. So you can look at things like this and see that, well, there appears to be no good site for me. I suck on A almost as much as I suck on B. But this ticket area is strong. In middle, actually connector, I'm having pretty decent success rate. And you can look at low performance positions, for example, and highlight them and figure out why by clicking on these areas and seeing whether or not you have higher success rates in those duels, and identify that and work on it. And this stuff, being cognizant of what you're struggling with, might not appear obvious to you. If you ask me how good you are at Mirage and which site you were better at, I would say I can't even tell you. I don't even know which site I'm better at because I'm perfect at both. And then I look at scope.gg and I find out, man, I could be a lot better. So apparently I'm good at middle, I'm good at a little bit of pushing, but some of the actual inside positions are places that I need to work on. And this is T side entering into the sites. Okay, my issue is on the T side entering into the sites. On the CT side, yeah, I am kind of a god, actually. No, I had that messed up. I was right. Scope.gg is showing me how correct I was. But still, it's actually connector flipped. So from the T perspective, taking over middle control is something that I actually potentially excel with. When I'm holding back in a default or I'm taking over towards the bottom of mid, I'm doing a pretty good job. Getting my kills up here, I'm good with on the T side. Entering into the sites, this is where I'm struggling. So some of maybe the second kill on the entry, maybe the post-plant stuff is where I need to work on things. And you can do this for, of course, every single map that you play, and it'll keep cycling through the matches so the data is always fresh. Now, if you go down, you can actually improve yourself on a macro level by finding some easy smoke grenades and lineups for mollies and pop flashes to throw on every single map as well. So here's Dust 2 for an example. Now let's talk about, let's say I want to smoke, just as a guess, want to smoke long doors at the beginning of the round. This is a smoke that I've wanted to throw. So, okay, so here is this. Okay, so this is a smoke from the T side to smoke the cross. And then on this position, I can smoke long doors. Or sorry, this is where the smoke lands, right? So I'm smoking long doors. Oh, excuse me. I have that backwards. I'm looking for this smoke. Okay, this smoke. So where you click is where the smoke lands. So here I am on a fast cat looking to smoke long doors. And then this is the exact lineup you use. A short video that just shows you exactly where you need to stand, where you need to throw the smoke. And then we can see it bounces off the overhang and it smokes in front of the doors. And this is a very hard smoke to throw. If you get into a server and you try to line up this smoke yourself, it'll take you forever to find this lineup because you can see it needs to bounce off this thing, but you can just find it on this map, click on it, and then you can, of course, use these smokes for figuring out how to, if you're on T side and you need to smoke deep CT, you can have this lineup, and then boom, you've got your quick deep CT smoke. You have an Xbox smoke that you can throw. You have your mid B smokes, both of them. You have a smoke that you can throw from the tunnels. And the other thing is that these are high-level smokes. They're not just YouTuber smokes that they're not going to have optimal standing positions. They're not going to be the fastest. They're not going to be most efficient. And you need to find the smokes that the pro players are using because they're usually throwing them in the most efficient ways possible, right? So I can tell right away this lurk smoke is just like the proper one. It's not a terribly difficult smoke to throw, but it's the one that you should pretty much throw every time for you to be able to mirror what's the most effective way to do it. It's a simple way to help you get caught up, and this is something I have to do because after starting to only play casually, I've forgotten all my lineups. So yeah, and first time going through the site, this is the tactical board. And one thing that's really great about this site is the minimap and the live game board, which I'll show you in a second. But here is a place where you can describe a strat, for example. So why don't we do a strat that has to do with mid control? Let's do like a little bit of a B lean, okay? And then this is something where you can have the strat with a team that you can download the board and show them and explain it with the visual aid, of course, of showing where nades have landed. And this is all drag and drop stuff. So I'm going to smoke top cat at the beginning of the round. Our idea is to try to take top mid control and get a molly down and connector from top mid. And this is me as an IGL talking to my team. And these are some default grenades we throw every round. And every round we have either an A-ramp lurker or a palace lurker. But this palace lurker is going to come here. They've been smoking off palace early in the round, so you're going to chill and wait to see if anything funny happens or if there's an opening here. And we're going to establish that no one's pushing mid palace. And these guys don't often push A-ramp. Okay, fine. So instead of doing an actual full-on mid default and crunching A like we've been doing, why don't we go ahead and do a B lean? All right, so we're going to have one person right here up against the wall waiting for a push. One person in the back ready to throw a window smoke that lands, a smoke that lands in the market window. And then we can have one person sitting here watching underpass. And then use this guy will be a bit bigger. All right, this will be a little bit more hench. And then we can use this B lean that appears to be our regular mid control and take, like, let's say, for example, our top mid player let's do the fallen fake smoke where the smoke doesn't land in the window. It lands in front of the window on the ground. And the idea here is to keep the attention of the CT who might be sitting in the window and waiting for that smoke to land for an opportunity to peek. And now this guy, if he saw the smoke land in the window, maybe he actually rotates around over towards B. But with the smoke missing, now you've got his attention towards cap, but there's no one actually coming up late there. Instead, you're going to have one person lurking very slowly behind, maybe someone sitting at mid, 3 people entering out onto the site, and then taking it with haste, of course. And then you have all the nades that you want to throw with it, and you can explain the strat with a high-level visual aid. And you can do this in the server with your friends, but sometimes having the minimap is the best way to do that. I think that's a really important point. When I'm casting with Scrawny and we're sitting there, Scrawny's watching the program feed, and we both have a program feed which shows us exactly what you see on the stream with no delay. But I'm staring at the minimap almost exclusively while he's worrying about the micro elements, like watching the game and every individual decision. I'm sitting there watching the minimap, setting up points for explaining how it all happened, how we arrived at that moment where that crazy moment happened. Talking about the rotation or the fake that may have occurred that you might miss if you're just focusing on individual perspective. But having both is equally important. So this is, so let's say, for example, here, I can go ahead and look at a match. I actually have the ability to watch the match back where you can skip to different rounds. You can see everybody's movements, all of the nade that they're going to throw in the round, and you can skip to these different points where different bits of utility and kills go down, and all these key points. You can see this is the point where the bomb was planted, and you can get a lot from these setups. And as much as I love to show demo reviews on the stream, incorporating some overviews of the minimap or rounds played out like this is something I want to do. It's not as visually fun, but honestly, what I found on this website actually makes it very, very nice to do this. It looks great. It's very detailed, and it shows you, exactly what everybody is looking at and how you're scaling across a site. So I can use this right now to explain what scaling is. Why don't we do that before we actually get into the game? So here's an example of getting onto a site. Now, I've talked about scaling before, and basically what scaling is, in simple terms, scaling is a term that became more and more popular in the last few years, but isn't talked about as much, with the average player. It's a team-focused term, but it's something that we all do whether we realize it or not. It's basically getting across a site as efficiently as possible. To define it properly, it wouldn't necessarily just be sites. It could be middle control. It could be scaling with the teammate on T side to reclaim map control. But it's what it is at the very least is the most efficient way to get across a part of a map for map control, clear out the angles efficiently, know that if two people are scaling correctly, that certain angles are going to be covered as you scale, and there's always going to be a trade potential. So here's a situation where we can even slow this down. This is an idea of scaling. Like on the B side of Inferno, one thing you'll notice when you watch pro matches is that here, people cross a cross pool to this point. Okay, and one of the general philosophies when it comes to entry pathing and scaling is that which are two of a kind. The idea is you don't want to have to walk into crossfires too often, right? So when you're crossing the CT smoke, this is your one pain point where when you're entering into the site, everything could be on your left except for the CT side. So there's some focus on killing the guy in CT, smoking this off, killing the guy who's boosted up, and then focusing towards the site. And the way the CTs get kills is they get a guy boosted here, they get a guy on a crossfire here, and they try to annoy you. But as soon as this guy is dealt with or he doesn't exist, things become a lot harder from the CTs. And the way you apply the utmost pressure is you get all the way over here to coffins. Now this threatens this position, which becomes a bit scarier to stand in if players are coming over here. From this position in coffins, you have an angle to hold onto the right side of quad here, which is very powerful. You have far back angles alongside all of your teammates. And then, most importantly, when you climb up onto the coffins, you're able to clear into oranges if you think that someone's there, or use your teammates to clear things like this. And see, I just jumped coffins from pool and decided to clear this way. And you can see as we're scaling the site, we're clearing out all of these different things by kind of riding the wall, but not running right through the middle of the site. So this is what scaling is. And now there's kind of this invisible line between me and my teammate that even though none of us ran through the middle of the site, all of this is being cleared at once by scaling properly. So great. I've never done that on this channel because we're always watching the individual demos. Perfect reason to use scope.gg. 20 minutes in, they didn't pay me. They didn't pay me enough to do it for this long. Well, they did pay me enough, but they didn't pay me to do it for this long. But I was invested in this, so I'm glad I got to show it. Thank you for helping the channel out, scope.gg. And if you want to help the channel out even further, you can use scope.gg. And also, they've added a Steam bot, so you can just connect your account via Steam by adding the bot to your friends list on Steam, and then they'll send you a message and show you your stats as soon as you're done games. It'll give you an immediate update, and it'll alert you and allow you to see your stats very quickly as soon as it happens. They go through all their updates. They're great guys here at scope.gg. I recommend trying them out. Costs you nothing to give it a shot, so why don't you? Okay, so this is now going to be a demo about Twistzz, and it is about Twistzz in Grand Slam form here for IEM Cologne 2021. We look back at the year that Twistzz had, and he's always been a fantastic player. He had a few events near the end of Liquid where things were deteriorating. When he came onto FaZe, he was looking strong, but the team wasn't looking strong. I had one of my worst tweets of all time here back in February 15th, and that's saying a lot because I've tweeted about 1,000 times since then, and a lot of them have been bad. But February 15th, I said, the new world ranking in 8 months. Na'Vi, Astralis, FaZe, Complexity, Vitality. And I'll tell you right now, I don't believe in this at all. But even after making a video called What's Wrong with FaZe and kind of feeling like this would never happen, I feel like I'm eating my words again after seeing IEM Cologne and what FaZe can do. Now, the weird part about this is the fact that we might be going back online for ESL Pro League after the player break because of COVID restrictions continuing to be a problem. So that means that FaZe will probably take a hit. But what has been great about the demos and the storylines leading up to this, and now the thought that we might eventually go back to LAN pretty soon, is that FaZe are a perceptible threat. Astralis still are a threat. I don't know. Top 2 is obviously a bit of a stretch probably. Na'Vi is maybe the one thing I could have got right here, but this is FaZe are the team that I expected them to be, but in the last few months before this LAN, really it didn't feel like that was ever going to happen. But man, was I wrong? What an amazing event this was for FaZe. What a deep run. They were able to beat Gambit. They made it to playoffs, I think, which is just even more impressive over all the other teams that were waiting to get to LAN. And every piece was very strong here, right? So we look at Ancient, and we look at this map with specifically the CT side comeback for FaZe. If you guys saw it, It's truly extraordinary stuff. Probably the best half from FaZe at this event to watch as a spectator, where every player here, I mean, this is extraordinary. Not only was this a comeback, this wasn't a stomp half to start the game out. This is an enormous comeback after getting like 3 or 4 rounds in the first half. 120 ADR for Rain. I want to watch that demo because obviously I was trashing Rain. I was saying he was a problem. And online, his stats were not great. He was looking very uninspired, but he has definitely just turned that around just specifically when we came to LAN. I really didn't think it would be that much of an impact, but it did make a really big one. The play-in all the way here, overall, not an insane event, but still, I think still very good in my opinion. So I want to give him some credit. Brokey was maybe the superstar of superstars at this event. I think he got maybe the greatest LAN buff of anybody almost. Oh, sorry, Simple did definitely. Brokey's up there though. Shocked to see how good Brokey was. And he actually he was the #1, I think, player in terms of opening kill success rate, or maybe second after Simple. So that means his initiative has gone way up. And if you guys remember Brokey week, that was a week where I cut short because I didn't want to watch any Brokey demos because it felt like I was disliking Brokey the more I watched it. But now we got Brokey full impact, full initiative, hitting shots, looking fast as hell, and coming out of his rookie year looking very sharp. But this one's going to be about Twistzz. A 1.72 rating, 16 and 5 CT side, his strongest map from the event, his strongest half from the event. And this is a day to watch Twistzz. So why don't we go ahead and focus on him as we get into the game and take a look at what it means to be Twistzz playing on the CT side of Ancient, which is already an exciting prospect in and of itself because I haven't looked at his role on CT side of Ancient at all. We haven't watched Twistzz on this channel in quite some time. I think the last thing was when he was on Liquid, I think, getting replaced by Nafly, playing Halls on Inferno, something like that, like very, very long time ago. But on this map, I remember some rounds in the CT side where Twistzz was floating a lot, and it looks like he is going to play kind of a rotator role here on the CT side. And we've been watching a lot of Ancient T-side demos where we're seeing a lot of B defaulters, mid-control takers, but not so much the CT side, especially with a player rotating a lot. So we'll see what that role looks like and just pretty much learn. This is going to be one of the demos that we kind of just try to learn to see what the role entails and how it looks when Twistzz is playing it and obviously having such a great day. So after getting their couple of kills here, FaZe, they're making immediate decision to go and get some information back. And I wonder if this is around that Gambit almost pullback, or if they do. We've got the fast flank in, the 4v2. And we're in a very strong position, but I remember watching this game, so I'm a little bit nervous to call it too soon. Rain will get the first kill, and it looks like the rotations here. Axile, this is where you're like, oh my god, is Axile going to do it? The 12-4, no. They win in the 2v1, 5-11. Sweat comes off the brow. FaZe Clan back in the game. And Twistzz taking his talents to mid this time with some establishing grenades and nading deep just to see if Gambit are holding back in the default. And Gambit are a team that will fly out mid every once in a while to keep you guessing, but a lot of the time, most of the time, they are playing back in defaults, right? I think that's an important thing to remember, that Gambit are a great team because they do just randomly explode sometimes, so they're hard to read from a conditioning standpoint. They're not as slow as they make it seem, but they are generally slow, and that's why people call them a slow-moving team or whatever. And therefore, let's say you throw that nade 100 times in the back, you're going to hit them more times than if you threw a shallow nade 100 times. And that sometimes is the idea. Sometimes you have a hard read, sometimes you have a feeling. Now, this is an angle I have personally never tried to hold, especially now with an MP9. And honestly, a lot of stuff that Twistzz does, it's a lot of don't try this at home. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Kerrigan would ever be standing there holding that same angle, even if it was decent, because first of all, it's an MP9. And second of all, it's a super sharp, tight angle where you're mostly playing for info. But you watch Twistzz stand there and you're like, there's actually a chance that you could get a kill. And it is important, as depressing as it is sometimes. Like, if I ever go to Twistzz stream and watch this guy deathmatch, it actually ruins my self-esteem. Like, it sucks all of my self-esteem up and it ruins my self-confidence. But as depressing as that is, there are lessons to be learned both from watching a good player play spots and the way they play them because of the confidence. hard angles like this, for example. Again, like fights that I feel like you wouldn't find Kerrigan doing so much, or even just floating, even though Kerrigan played with a lot of confidence in this game. Just as much as there is to learn about players who have worse aim and a little bit less confidence in their individual skill, and learning how they play spots and what that looks like. It's almost like watching a good player on 2 different days. But the good thing about watching a player who's generally less gifted mechanically is that they have to rely on playing the best angles possible, where sometimes a very good player, a very talented player, might end up playing bad angles. They might end up playing bad angles where they die a lot because their aim is so good that they can trash noobs playing very, very, tight, strong angles. But it doesn't always necessarily mean it's bad, right? I think Counter-Strike is a beautiful game because you do have to strike this balance between what is objectively best and what is strong for this circumstance, right? Half of the magic sometimes is simply being in a spot they wouldn't expect you to be in because they're like, why is this guy so damn confident? He's just swinging out a donut and killing my whole squad. You and your whole team, says Twistzz. So embarrassing to watch a round like that and think, man, I've never even done that and face it. I don't think an ace comes of this, so I feel comfortable skipping through. There were a lot of aces this event, though, that's for sure. But it doesn't look like Twistzz is interested in hunting them down. This is a round where not only do they win with 4. They make it a 3-round lead instead of a 5-round lead if Gambit won that. And they got decimated. I mean, it had nothing to do with strategy at that point. They were trying to get out A, and Twistzz stopped them dead in their tracks. Some of these rounds were a little bit messy by Gambit. When I was watching the game, I called this a choke. My opinion, I called it a choke. I think it's an enormous lead, and there were so many good things about the way that FaZe played for sure, and the way that Kerrigan called. But I think you can exist in both worlds, where that can be true, but you can also say, if you watch that from Gambit's POV, if you ask them what they would say, I don't think they would give FaZe quite as much credit. I think they would mostly be referencing how badly they played and had poor spacing, and we might see some of that from Twistz's POV. But Rain overall did a really good job from this spot, and this is already a little bit tricky, right? Because they kill Rain, and Rain is sent out to play this spot. And what's actually important for Rain in this position is to fight, because let's say they don't fight him, right? Then they know Rain is alive. They haven't spotted him yet. But Twistzz is in here the whole time here holding his hand. If they think that this threat they can't get to, they might smoke it out, molly it, throw some deep HEs that hit Twistzz by accident. That actually makes Twistz's job harder. But now Twistzz can hold this hard angle onto the sight cross since Rain fought early, and they should not just simply clear it. Unless there's some reason they think that, they have some reason to believe that a second person is there. Nafany was sitting there on the other side of the smoke and got this spam through. I want to say fortunate to do so, but it was actually a very nice play from Nafany, being patient and also just playing off the audio cue. And in this position, I think he's still alive. Yes, but he's coming out of the smoke. And he drops that flashbang. Man, we saw this from Nafany's perspective. That looked pretty crazy from the FaZe perspective. I'm glad we saw that from the FaZe perspective. It honestly looked like a play where he was just going to get sprayed down, but right there, they could have sprayed him through the smoke, or at least put a few bullets down. Maybe they should have. But you can see that flash was just way too effective, and it was too hard to catch him darting behind the pillar. He made the best out of a terrible situation. And now this means that with this round, 12-8, but because the round that Twistzz won, and how cleanly and dominantly they won it, we've still got guns here for FaZe. So there's still a threat. And yeah, the floaty atmosphere of the CT side right now, I think, is the scariest part for Gambit. It feels like they're kind of stacking with FaZe, or with Twistzz. And I suppose the idea here is that Kerrigan has, or Brokey has info on Donut. And this is a position that Gambit and Shiro specifically has played a lot. He will take info on mid from Donut, and this will be enough early info that there's not really a good move. If you have a player with an op and Donut, no one takes mid control. Defending A is very easy. And if you take this info and no one comes A defending B, you're overstacked towards it. Feels like this is the idea behind how to play Ancient at the moment. And there it is. Brokey takes that one kill. And everybody gets around. Everybody gets around in this position. See, Kerrigan moves to the back box on the A site, and Nafany finds a jackknife kill here. Look at how this will actually mess the rotations up a little bit. Okay, so Nafany gets the kill in mid, and the CTs know at this point it's going to be an A site hit. But look how slow they have to go when it comes to retaking it. If Nafany didn't get that kill right there, they could swing out on spawn, and we could see the red question mark on the screen. You'd be able to see it if from the CT's perspective on the rotate here. But they have to kind of take their time with it, keep remembering that Nafany was there. And I can't remember if this is that round in specific that really denoted the comeback, but you could see how paranoid Twistzz is about this specific position. And this feels like one of those demos where so many mysteries are unlocked, being able to watch it from this spot. Enters, dies, and Brokey. Twistzz smokes the bomb, and he actually smokes it a little shallow, but look at him. He's actually spamming both sides. They're quite nervous about Nafany. He ends up coming in from... Oh, it looks like he pulled the lurk off from the inside of Temple. He slowed it down just enough. Look how good that play was from Nafany. Holy... He was just so slow that even watching that from Twistzz perspective, I thought it was a different round because of how clearly Twistzz had been patient and cleared everything out. Nafany, the perfect pace on that lurk. He was not on Twistzz screen for even a portion of a second. We didn't see a sleeve. There is absolutely nothing you can do about that on the CT side, right? Like, you have to go and get that bomb defused. And even though, yeah, they technically had more than 5 seconds, I mean... Speaking realistically, you hold that flank for 10 plus seconds, you just assume that the guy went around to Donut, or basically that's the only option he has. He's going to flank and go back to Donut and play and double up with his teammate there. I know Nafany actually just held his nerve. Very, very nice plays from Nafany. And although I think Gambit did choke, they were probably 5% worse versus Gambit or versus G2 and lost, and then really, really threw this game away, specifically Ancient versus FaZe after having a huge lead. Nafany, in my opinion, was not one of the players that got perceptibly nervous. He was still looked like the LAN energy was there, was making all the plays that he needed to make, and I think maybe the calling was a little bit off. There could be that, but as an individual, definitely looked hella solid. That's what I'll say. All right, now we know that the exec is probably coming B. Like, it feels like it certainly is, but nobody's coming up the ramp. We'll see how the fights come down. Gambit love themselves to use this pillar that Twistzz is standing on because it's completely impervious to bullets. And it looks like it's just a bit slow towards the A site with Brokey still alive. And they throw a bit of a fake, but it's just too slow. Even the flank is coming out from Olafmeister. And this was the big thing that you could have one person over on either site or 1 or 2 people, but Gambit could almost not get any kills at all. 9-13, and the game becomes a step closer. This is where FaZe would get a land buff. The idea that they could remember having to come back in a game like this, even though they have lost games with a similar size lead in very important circumstances. Those reps do help when it comes to your overall mentality, right? They've got a corroded mind. They don't have to get too uppity about any one round that they win, and not too sad about any one round that they lose. The danger is becoming jaded and not caring at all about anything. But these guys are obviously fierce competitors. So, we can see that, especially with the first land back, Mans just dipped their face in a bowl of aloe vera and were fully rejuvenated. They just look like they wanted it so bad. So another angle here out of Donut into mid to hold this cross. And this information is everything, right? This B setup that we're seeing is not possible if Twistzz doesn't hold this specific angle. The cool part about this map that's making it unique is the fact that T's can threat mid control, and Donut is so important in a very unique way. And if T's threat mid control, they can flank A easily. They can flank B easily. They can even take sites fully through mid. And as much as that's powerful, the information can be completely denied with a position like this. So, here's a spot where, who knows, maybe Axel comes out and crouch peeks him coming out towards mid, or Shiro will take this kill. Oh my God. That's got to be a Nafany lurk. Surely. He's not seeing anyone else, and that player didn't attack him Rain kills 3, and look at this. Oh, Olaf Meister kills Hobbit. And finally, our mid lurk comes back out. Twistzz got that info really quickly on. And that's crazy. So they were fully prepared off of that little bit of info that there was potentially a B split coming, and they had the mid lurk locked out for sure. That was an insurance policy. So that sliver angle working out very, very well for Twistzz. Going to go ahead and borrow that one. Listen, if Nafany's not going to get caught out with that sliver angle, I'm going to use it versus anybody. Level 10's anybody. You know what I mean? Wow. Well, looking at the innumerable positions that Twistzz and angles that he's taking in all of these rounds, in my opinion, is a really great sign. You know, one of the reasons I was so hard on like that Rain demo that we watched was it looked very uninspired, the way that he was playing his position on T-side train. Very few different angles, very similar patterns over and over again. And I think the mark of a 2021 CS player, a really strong CS player, is one where they're hard to predict. You have a number of positions that you are good at, and you can use sporadically. You throw, space them out in a half. You've got some of your favorites that you're going to use 2 times in a row, but you're always finding a new way to approach a fight. And here's another angle where Twistzz has never appeared before here at V2. He takes out 3 on the hold. They can't get in. They can't get a bomb plant. And Twistzz is just totally screwing up their money sometimes with these holds. Not even a bomb plant off this round. Felt like for a second they were going to come barreling through this smoke, but that wouldn't be very Gambit-ish. Gambit-ish? Gambit-y? So I feel like we've already uncovered a few mysteries in this game that you couldn't see on the cast, which is awesome. Just watching Twistz's perspective. And I actually kind of want to watch Kerrigan's perspective. I want to watch Rain's perspective. I want to watch Broky's perspective on this half. I think Broky's second most, just because he had some fantastic op rounds. As much as Rain had some really, really outrageous holds as well, playing here in Cave. I mean, Gambit, a lot of the time they're playing 3 people outside B and waiting, and Rain was doing an insane job of stopping them from getting into Cave at all. Trades come down on the A side finally, and we see again the paranoia starts to sink in. And Twistzz will come through the retake. He delegates the job to holding for Nafany to somebody else. That deep angle gets taken by Olaf Meister. He takes a step out actually to clear it super deep so that he can come and join in instead of waiting. And they move ahead, but we still know that Nafany hasn't died yet in the round. Shiro's here at Donut. And now Twistzz clearing out all these angles. He's seeing no one on the big flank potentially. And Shiro spamming. And look, this actually activates Twistzz. Oh my god. He takes Nafany out. And you see again, Nafany gets incredibly close. This is a round that Nafany could have taken a kill actually a little bit earlier on. And he took the wrong decision. And I want to say wrong because I was watching the game. I was like, you should just take this kill. Because you could hide temple. The bomb would be planted for you. It would have been a great spot. He didn't need to there. But he decided to go for it all. And then he ended up getting cleared by Twistzz. But you could see Shiro spamming this bomb the way he did, specifically activated Twistzz. And Twistzz said it in the interview. I know it looked weird, but Shiro was spamming the smoke, and that made me turn around, look for him, and he knew that Nafany was still alive. So he tried to pull off the same lurk play once again. But, I mean, he's trying the same trick but waiting a little bit longer each time. But at the end of the day, he's still the lurker. He's still the guy they press tab and they see that there's only 2 people alive. He's probably up to something no good. And it's, in a sense, not surprising that there was specific emphasis on trying to catch this lurk once and for all. But this is also a round that kind of defined the game on this comeback. And what's obviously a very exciting match to watch, even watching it back. I'm the proud new owner of a 280 hertz monitor, and it's definitely hitting different. It looks incredible, I won't lie. I never thought that anything over 140 hertz mattered. I've changed my mind entirely. Broky and Kerrigan, dynamic duo. And Broky has that jumping shot on Inter, is trying to jump and throw the nade down, and this is where Gambit are just completely falling flat. I think they maybe are able to win a round here, potentially. And this is the point where you've won so many CT rounds in a row. This is the hardest part of a comeback, is that near the end of a comeback, you've done everything already. You played all your favorite spots. You've used all your tricks. You gassed out in round 1 because you needed to put everything on the line. You couldn't even focus on playing a slow game with establishing rounds, hiding some tricks. You had to just win. And then by the end of it, you're in a spot where you're like, well, I've got to do one of the 5 things that I've already done this half. Which one am I going to pick? Twistzz comes back over to this position. It's slightly different than even the one that he tried before. And I got to say, it feels like we haven't seen him play the same spot the same way twice. Which I'm telling you, that's a super good sign. That's a super good sign. We've got a number of demos to watch, actually, from this LAN. There's still so much to talk about during the off season. So these videos are going to be pretty chatty and pretty long. Buckle up. I'm going to space the uploads out a little bit. They're not going to be every single day. I was trying to make sure we stayed on top of the LAN as it was coming out, but there's a number of demos queued up, like the ZipX one. I want to do an Almanac one. Just so many. Knocked out a few of the big ones, though. Same position to hold in. Perfect crosshair placement. As per usual, a Twistzz. His like 3rd, 4th bullet always hits the head. Beautiful stuff. Basically, one miss of the night here for Twistzz. 15 rounds for FaZe. And what could be the last round of the game. And this is officially, I would say, the first time we're seeing him play the same position the exact same way twice. But Kerrigan's calling with so much confidence here. He's playing deep in mid by himself inside of the cubby at mid. And they have the op of Brokey on A. Brokey has struck so much fear into Gambit. There's literally no good site for Gambit to go to. This is the worst position in the world if you're Nafany to be able to call an interesting round. Something special. The reason that things get quiet in moments like these is because there's just no good option. You've literally tried everything. You know that they're confident versus you. And you are, and you can't shake it, scared of their individuals. And look at this. The push play through the smoke for Twistzz. Won't make it 2, but he gets the info that allows Brokey to get the last kill. That's the last round. That was a pretty fantastic demo. We have run a long time today. But, boy, was that an interesting one. Cliff notes, insane player. No one was on Twistz's screen for more than half a second before dying. Unless he completely missed, like that one example at the end of the half. Insane map for basically everyone on FaZe Clan. A sick run to watch. Super good for CS to see all these big brands that look like they were washed or falling off entirely come back and look like the actual threats. LAN has had way more of an impact than I thought it would. Now we move into the player break. We're going to focus on finishing up with the LAN demos and then doing off-season content in tandem. And not to burn myself out or anything, we're going to space the demos out a little bit. Not too much, but I've got this backdrop behind me. I'm casting an Apex event this weekend with Blast, so you can watch that at Twitch, at Blast Apex, I believe, is a Twitch channel. If not, you can Google it. But yeah, something a little bit different, but still, of course, right here doing CS content on YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed that. And remember, check out scope.gg. Let me know what you thought about the website itself and the partnership. Appreciate you guys so much, and thank you again for the blessed 100K. You guys are amazing. Cheers, everybody.